Hi guys, it's Kate here for a video about all of the reasons why you should read A Suitable Boy. This book was incredible, and this is basically the story of a girl called Lada Mira and her mother's and the rest of her family and friends' attempts to find a husband for her, find her a suitable boy. And this is such a little nugget into kind of the culture and history of India. And I really felt the more that I read this, the less and less that I knew about India as a country and a people and a history, and it was just absolutely incredible. I really appreciated about this book that you got such a like big scale idea of the population of India. So you were given some characters that were like wealthy politicians, and then you were given people who were more middle class or like professors in college and teachers, and then you were given people who were kind of like the bottom rung and the people who don't know what they're going to have to eat the next day. And this just felt like a grand sweeping kind of, you get to know people from all walks of life and all, kinds of society. And so that was really interesting. And then along with that, there are certain really poignant events in the history of India. This takes place in the 50s in India. So to start off, it's right after the British occupation of India has ended. So that's a very significant time. So there's lots of British influence. And then in addition to that, there is a big act that certain politicians are trying to pass called the Zamindari Act. And that was very interesting. It was to do with like landowners and kind of slumlords almost, and how much money they should make off the farmers who live on their land. And then in addition to that, there was also a stampede that takes place, and like I had no idea about this, catastrophe that had happened. So it's very interesting to have these really vivid characters fully fleshed out against the backdrop of these kind of crazy and tumultuous events at certain points that are happening. And then in addition to that, there's some really sweet romance, and you're kind of rooting for Lada to end up with a certain guy, and you don't know. I didn't know until the very end who she was going to end up with. So it definitely kept me on the edge of my seat with that. And then also you see kind of the culture of work in India. There are people, like I said, who are politicians. There are people who are teachers. And then there are people who work in factories. And it's just very interesting to see all of those kind of rungs of society. In addition to that, you can definitely see Vikram Seth's love of literature in this book. There are lots of references to Jane Austen, P.G. Wodehouse, Shakespeare, James Joyce. You can just see his love of literature coming through so richly in here. Another aspect of this book that I absolutely loved were family dynamics, and to see how the families in India and different families deal with death, how they deal with tragedy, how they deal with a child who does not want to do what their family wants them to do, and how they deal with birth. That was a very interesting part of the book, to see kind of how the women in the family come together after a baby is born, and their views on like how much of a say the parents should have and how much of a say the grandparents should have. You also get to see lots of writing that Vikram Seth does on nature, and his descriptions of landscapes and gardens, and also how those relate to the people. And there are several families in this, 4 families specifically, that you get to know fairly well, and it's very handy if you are not familiar with Indian names. In the very beginning, he gives you a family tree of these 4 families. And so kind of the different culture of these 4 families is very interesting to see. And it might, it might be specific families he had known, or just kind of something he had come up with. But either way, it was very interesting. And especially one family, the Chatterjees, they love literature, and they love being clever and making rhymes while they talk. And it just made for so many laughs. And then as Hilary, who I did this as a buddy read with, and I'll link her wonderful channel down below. As we were talking about this, discussing this book after we had finished, we were also noting what Hilary was telling me, like different things from Vikram Seth's life that he had put into this. Just little like just little nuggets that are awesome, and little gems that you find throughout here, kind of passing things, but the little passing gems and, you know, little things that you note just add up to one big awesome thing. And for instance, there's a really feisty little dog. He might be a pug, I can't remember, but his name is Cuddles. And so there's definitely some humor in here, and I really appreciated that. He also I really enjoyed the writing in that he's very into alliteration, and so there, just anytime there was alliteration, I took note of that because he just knew how to do it so well. And yeah, like I said, there was lots of underlining that I did, and this was also very emotionally engaging. And another aspect that was interesting that I would not have expected any less from a book about India was all of the discussion about religion. And there are, you know, Hindu characters, there are Muslim characters, and just all of the issues and conflicts that there can come from those two really like devoted religions. And so that was, you know, just another interesting aspect of it. And this writing is just spot on. It was beautiful writing, and I just got so much out of this book. It was such a treat. I think it's really neat sometimes when you come out of a book and you know that this is the author's love letter to something, and to me this is just Vikram Seth's love letter to India. You can tell he just has such a feeling of loyalty to his country, and just he wants the world to be educated on all of the different aspects of India. Like, I think some people just kind of think of Slumdog Millionaire when they think of India, but this is such a beautiful piece in showing the breadth of India and the breadth of culture and people. And oh, another note that I should add is just all of the food that is talked about. I think Indian food is one of the most like sophisticated kinds of food out there, with just their knowledge of spices and how to mix food. And yeah, it was just excellent, and there was so much food talked about in here that I kind of wanted to try out. So I hope that this review has been helpful, and I know it was kind of vague, but I just hate giving away spoilers, and I hope this has maybe made one person want to read A Suitable Boy. I will see you guys for another video soon, and I hope you have a lovely day.